The European Union has submitted a final text to try and salvage the nuclear deal between Iran and world powers. The possible breakthrough comes after 4 days of talks in Vienna. An Iranian delegation is on its way back to Tehran to discuss proposals. The talks involved Germany, France, Britain, China, and Russia. The U.S. has been involved indirectly. The EU says it's now up to those nations to either accept or reject the deal. The 2015 pact lifted sanctions on Iran in return for guarantees it will not build a nuclear weapon. U.S. President Donald Trump walked away from that deal 4 years ago. All right, let's get you more on this latest development. I want to take you now to Austria, where journalist Klaus Pompers is standing by. Klaus, is a deal within reach?
It could be in reach if both major parties, the Iranians as well as the US, would say yes to this text, which was delivered today to them after 4 days of negotiations. The question is whether Ayatollah Khamenei and President Joe Biden will say yes to what's on the table now.
Do we know what is in the EU draft? What is the European Union saying about this final text?
Not yet in detail. There are still unclarities, I would say. For example, how do this text and the sanction regime, the future sanction regime, deal with the Revolutionary Guard of Iran? How will the sanctions really be lifted so that economic possibilities for Iran are getting better? How will the Iran indeed shrink its uranium enrichment, which has improved in the last 2 years tremendously? And not at least, how do the US assure the Iranians that if in 2024 a Republican president would be elected, that this deal would not yet again be abolished?
So there are still some major sticking points that have to be ironed out.
Of course, and besides this, there are sticking points between the International Atomic Energy Agency here in Vienna and the Iranians, because the Director General Grossi made clear in the last weeks already that several points are not yet clarified. For example, did Iran in the past, going back to 2003, work on how to evolve and finalize an atomic weapon, especially the thing which brings it into motion and destroys everything? It's not clear. There are traces found in Iran, but Iran is not giving more clarity to the International Energy Agency. As well as 6 weeks ago, several cameras were deinstalled by the Iranians, so that the agency now is not really knowing exactly what Iranians are doing. So it's up to both sides, Iran and the US, to say yes or no, but I think further negotiations don't make any sense.
So the Iranian delegation is on its way back to Tehran. What would a renewed deal mean for Iran?
If they say yes to this new text, which Josep Borrell, the High Representative of the European Union, has presented to them and will present to the foreign ministers, it would mean they can export oil again. They can get back money for it, which was frozen in the United States, in Europe, and other places in the world. And more or less normal economic relations could be reestablished. And the high inflation in Iran would be able to counter a little bit, and the economy of Iran would be brought back into the world economy. Whether this takes place, we have to wait for several days, I am afraid, until we get clarity from the US as well as from Iran.
Journalist Klaus Pompers in the Austrian capital of Vienna reporting. Klaus, thank you.
You're welcome.